In this module, we're going to look at the EPC obligations you have as a letting agent. First of all, an EPC is definitely required whenever a building is offered for rent. So remember, an EPC is valid for 10 years, so you don't need to have a new EPC every time you start a new tenancy or every time a new tenant moves into a property, providing it's within the 10-year time period. And of course, EPCs were started in 2007, and so some of them are now expiring, so you need to check to make sure it's still in date. Some properties might have more than one EPC. The one that is valid is the one that is the most recent. So remember, you must have the EPC in place before you begin marketing, or at least have commissioned the EPC with an energy assessor before you begin marketing. A copy should be provided to anybody who requests it during the marketing period, and you can't charge for that. So you can either provide them with a hard copy or a digital copy, whichever you agree with the person that's interested in the EPC. The actual tenant must be provided with a copy of the EPC before the tenancy is agreed. So you must provide it generally when the tenancy is signed. You provide it with other documents because you have other requirements to provide it, as well as under the energy performance of building regulations. Any advertisement that you put out there must clearly show the property's EPC rating. And the EPC rating is that letter A to G. So EPC equals C is appropriate, or you might have a link to the full EPC if you like, because that will show the energy assessment, or you will have the graphs. Any of those options are available to you and you will meet your obligations. But as far as an advertisement is concerned, we're talking about brochures, property particulars, regardless of what's included in there, has to show the EPC rating. Displays in the branch window, displays inside the branch, anything you have on display should show the EPC rating. Any advertisements that you put out in the press, they should show the energy rating. If you've got properties advertised on your website, then the EPC rating should also be shown on there. And of course on portals, you should show the EPC rating. Remember, as from the 1st of April this year, 2018, new tenancies cannot be entered into unless the property has an A to E energy rating. You need to have a conversation with your landlord about that to ensure that the landlord doesn't breach this requirement, because it will be enforced by local authorities, and penalty notices can be issued if you do enter into tenancies with F4G rated properties. Have a chat with your landlords, ensure they understand this, and they'll then have to bring them up to standard. And if they can't bring them up to standard, they may be able to get themselves an exemption certificate, and if they have an exemption certificate, then you and they will be able to enter into tenancies on F4G rated properties. There are penalties involved if you don't comply with the requirements. They range from £1,000 up to £4,000. And these are not prosecutions, these are fixed penalties that the authorities can issue against landlords and agents if they breach these requirements to have A to E rated properties.